Hey,
Hey, Steve.
good morning, Anthony.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes afternoon.
Yeah, perfect. How are you?
I'm good.
All right, put full screen. That's it. Nice. All right.
Yeah, the weather's being nice over here. How about you?
Yeah, we finally had a run of normal weather, blue skies, and because I don't know if follow much, but we've had that El Nino, which has just been rain pretty much continuous for forever.
So you guys are having El Nino and we're having La Nina.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Did you get that storm?
So you use the same terms.
Yeah. Did you get that storm you were talking about? You said it was expected to rain. Did you get rain?
It was a good one.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Nice.
For us, we're lucky if we get an inch out of one storm. And we had 3 storms before that. We got nothing. So some people are, instead of saying La Nina, they're saying La Nada.
Oh, okay.
Do you know Spanish? You know that Spanish word?
And La Nada, it sounds Spanish to me.
Just means the nothing.
The nothing, all right. Like what we talk about.
Yeah. Yes.
You could put up maybe the title instead of non-duality, you could just say non-nada.
Yeah. That would work for people who knew a little Spanish.
Yeah.
So we haven't heard from Lisbeth yet.
Okay.
I'll take a look at the email and see if she made a note there. So nothing yet. So we'll just go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
On talking about something untalkable as we see how untalkable it actually is. So last week we talked some about everything appearing new every time it's seen.
Yeah.
This week what came up was everything's already complete. Everything and no thing it appears to be new every time it's seen, and then every time it's seen to be apparently totally complete. And no matter what stage, if it's a living form, no matter what stage of life it's in, like there's some palm trees over here. No matter what stage of life they're in, every time they're seen, they're just seen to be complete as they are, even though it's seen to be, well, they change size as they grow. That is something that's apparently happening. But every time they're seen to be complete no need of any growth. It's only this separate personality, the separate self, that's judging what size it is, how big it's going to get when it's mature, how fast it's growing, how many there are, how healthy they look. It's all judgment. It's all quality judgments that are being made by this separate judger.
Like an analyzing
Yes,
process. Yeah.
yes. And life, or completeness, or wholeness, whatever term you're excited about or you're interested in, at the time, could care less. Could care less. There's no concern. There is absolutely no concern anywhere. And yet everything is just being everything without concern for anything.
Mm. Mm.
And everything is totally complete wherever it is, and could care less about completeness. Oh, who's raising their hand?
Don't know.
Who could that be?
Money would be on Lisbeth.
Maybe. Is that Lisbeth? Maybe that was just a mistake.
It was just some sort of an appearance.
Shall I check? I'll check.
Yeah.
We'll make a check on the email. So she may just have forgotten. Anyway, the whole universe, the megaverse, or whatever verse you're referring, one is referring to, it's all complete as it is, where it is, for as long as it is. And as long as it is, apparently is endless. All of it without any, apparently without any decision maker, responsibility, creator, destroyer. It's all everything. It doesn't need anything. It's complete in its everythingness and its nothingness. It's always there. It's every time it's seen, it's there. It's seeing, it's even seeing that it's there. And in a sense, there isn't even any it. There isn't any it doing anything. Really, it's just, there's another it there. It's just everything. as this was walking this morning, so this looked at a pine tree and touched the bark of the pine tree. And the bark was solid, it felt solid. And then a little bit of it flaked off. It had kind of one of those pine trees with kind of a flaky bark. You guys have palm trees?
Yeah.
No,
Got
I'm
some
sorry.
right outside.
You got pine trees.
Palm trees outside, but we have pine trees as well.
Pine trees too. Okay.
Yeah.
So here, there was a matter of touching the bark, and just the touching the bark, there was a change in the apparent nature of that pine tree. A piece of bark fell off. It was a different color underneath the spot that was where the bark fell off. There was a different color underneath it. It was kind of it was just a seeing that even as a pine tree is seen closely, there's still an apparent nature, an apparentness, even when it's physically touched by the body. And as the eyes are seeing what's going on with the pine tree, there's also the seeing of the hands of the body. Of course, the eyes are in the head, and they sort of look down at what the hands are doing and the legs of the body. There's even an apparent nature of that activity of that body, what the hands are doing. It's just as apparent as everything else. It's just as apparently there as the apparent there-ness of everything else. And this completeness of all there is the way everything is in all there is. So here in San Diego, there's a certain kind of sky. Like right now, there's a San Diego sky that's clear, totally clear, no clouds. And in the evening, when the sun goes down, there's again a San Diego sky that has it ends up with kind of a orange, pinkish sunset color to the sky, which is just the way the skies are here, typically in the fall or early winter. So it's likely that the skies in Sydney are a certain way as well. So that's just another expression of completeness. So then the landscape around here is complete in its way. The this area is termed to have coastal sagebrush. Is that a familiar term for you?
There might be a name for a different name for something, but you know, we might have a similar plant. I would imagine it might be called something different, but
so this coastal San Diego landscape has a lot of coastal sagebrush in the foothills that likes to burn easily. So that's another landscape. It can be seen on a lot of the hills in the area. A lot of times the hillsides are left natural and the houses are on top or down below. And that landscape, even though it's different depending on how far inland you are from the ocean. It changes. Every little change in the landscape is complete. It's complete in its way. It doesn't need anything else, even if it's a burned area. There are burned out areas here from old fires. Even if it's a burned area, there's no judgment about, oh, well, that needs to grow back, or that would look better if it grew back. It's, even though it's a burned area, it's complete as a burned area, and there's no desire or no
opinion. Would be an opinion. Like you can observe, the observation is there.
Yeah.
About what's seen, but there's no opinion about it, kind of.
Right.
It's almost, and I'm asking a question, it's almost like if you removed your brain and there was just the ears and the eyes left and the mouth and all the things left, but no brain to, or that part of the brain that somehow does the analyzing and all that sort of thing, there would just be like slightly robotic in a way of just seeing without a comment that it should be anything else. It just seeing what's there, and that's it.
Yes.
Like an empty seeing without adding an opinion or no need to. It is what it is. So the completeness that you talk about, would you say that the completeness, because in the human, in the me concept, complete has a totally different thing. Complete means now it's right. If it just had that or just had that, it's like this kind of, it's not complete because I think it should have this or it should be like that. But the completeness that you're talking about, would it be true to say that that is complete because there isn't anything else that needs to be done for it to be how it already is, and it doesn't need to be changed. If it's just what it is, it couldn't be anything else than what it is. Is that a little bit more in sense of the completeness that you're talking about? It couldn't be anything else, and in that sense, it's complete.
There's no one. There just is no one that would have an opinion or make a judgment
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
And what's left is, you might say, perfect the way that it is.
Yeah.
Perfect even in its imperfection.
Yeah.
Okay, so even a desert, there's a desert, 50 miles east of here, Borrego area. That's the way that it is. Some areas are just sand dunes. People go out there with their machines and ride on the sand dunes. And at the same time, there may be no living or very little living matter on those sand dunes, and yet they're complete. And they're even complete with the people riding all over them. They're complete without the people there. They're just complete as they are. It's that is what is. That's the way of what is everywhere it is. It's just, I gotta douse myself here.
Yeah.
It's just it's just the separation talking. The separation that's learned how to be separate. That's where the separation is. That's how the separation continues until it's, for whatever reason, no longer there. Then what is sees what is the way it is. And it's vastly different from the separateness. Incomparable in many ways, and the same as always in many ways.
It's so much like the conversation we had last week, which became very clear to me, actually, I have to say, about how everything that we're talking about here and everything,
Yeah.
In one, there's just one thing that's between all this, and there's one thing that goes from not understanding anything to understanding everything, and it's just everything that we're talking about hinges on the illusionary self, and everything that you're talking about, if that illusion ends, for want of a better term, if that illusion ends, then bang, that's it. It's everything that there's no need to understand anything anymore, because it's all about that self. If that self is still happening, if that illusion hasn't ended, then there's just a chasm between it and it appears that there's a chasm between it and what you're talking about, but really there isn't. It's not a chasm, because the moment that self is gone, there's no chasm anymore. It's all understood, it's instant, it's clear. So really, in one way, all of the questioning ends.
Yes.
If that illusion ends. And that illusion has nothing to do with the person. It either ends or it doesn't. And for me here, that, we'll call it a concept, that is so clear. It's so clear that almost I feel like I have no more questions, because that's just crystal clear to me. It's here. Whatever question you'd want to ask about this, it's like, it's all about the illusion being here. And like you're saying, with that looking, with that seeing, if there is no one left, then there's just seeing, and seeing the way it's been seen there. If there is someone here, then it's going to be seen that way. It doesn't matter what's talked about. That's just so, it's just one common denominator between everything.
Yes.
And that's just so clear here that almost you go, okay, right, well, something here's heard that. Thanks very much. We've got nothing else to say.
Yes, there is nothing to say.
And
There's
what
absolutely nothing to say.
You know, my brother asked me a question about this the other day, which was quite funny. And he said, yeah, but you always get the yeah, but. And he said, but if we can't know what we are, then we can't possibly know what we're not, and so on, so on, so on. And I said, yeah, that seems to be right. And of course, when I try and talk, it's just another me talking, so it just ends up in a confusion and frustrating. I'd much rather not talk about it. But it also became clear to me that in terms of the knowing, it is often talked about in non-duality, knowing is the same thing as the me. It's the same thing as the I, because without, and it's about that unknowing, which for a while I struggled with that term. I goes, yeah, but how can the me unknow? Well, it never can. It's not about the me unknowing. It's about the me disappearing. So there is no knower that could know anything, because there's no me to know anymore. And again, it just comes back down to the end of that illusion of the me, which is the knower. So if you remove the me, and there's just, and it can't be described, there's no one here.
Yeah.
Who would be asking questions? Who would be knowing anything? There's just this you can't describe, and from my position, that couldn't possibly be described.
Yes.
And because you're just trying to describe nothing.
Yes.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
And
so it's very, you know, like talking with you in the last couple of sessions. And I think, like you said, you're hearing the words and stuff like that, but there's, I don't know, there's obviously something behind the words, that an energy or whatever it is, but there's just a clarity. There's just much more simplified clarity that's being heard here. What's hearing it and how that's been interpreted and all that sort of, I have no idea. But whatever is put into words and has been tried to be conveyed has been received here very, very clearly. Like I said, to the point where there appears to be less questions.
okay.
Almost none really anymore. It's like, yeah, I get it, but I know I can't get it, but it's got whatever.
So that's what's happening.
Mm.
And that's That's the one with the if, and, or but. That's not there already.
Mm.
There already is no one. There already is nothing. There already is completeness.
Mm.
There already is wholeness. There already is everything. There already is the infinite. Anything else is just what's happening.
Mm.
Just what's coming up. Just what is being seen. Just what is everything. There is no Anthony.
Mm. Mm.
Anthony is already not there. He's never been there. He never will be there. What's there is just what is,
Mm.
without any one, without any separate one.
Mm.
It's oneness. It's oneness in its unity, and there's no one else.
Mm.
There's absolutely
Mm.
no one other than oneness.
Mm. And that
Already.
Anthony, or the one that's illusioning in itself to be separate.
That's
I mean, that is oneness. That's oneness
yes,
being Anthony, isn't it?
yes,
It's oneness. It's oneness being Anthony. So it's not Anthony. It's oneness being Anthony. It's oneness being the me's all around the world. It's oneness being the illusion. So, because it's often when you hear about the non-duality talks and they talk about the me and the self, and oh yeah, but that's just the self doing that. That sounds separate. So you go, right. So there's oneness and there's the self. But no. It's oneness being a self. That self and the name and the illusion is oneness already being that. And it will either end if it does, or it won't, or it won't. So really there is no me. There is no me pretending to be me. It's oneness pretending to be me. That's it. And in that sense, you can kind of, like, even if that's heard, you can kind of go, oh, well, whatever, oneness, be whatever you like, whatever. There's nothing here that could possibly, there's no one here separate that could possibly do, say anything about this. It's just,
yes,
game over. It's game over.
yes,
I get that.
I
I like.
it was over before it started.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it,
Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say it in English, but it's like, I get that. I hear that. I have no problem with that. but there's still a feeling of separateness here. And so it doesn't matter. That's oneness being that. I even hear that.
Yeah.
You know? So it's interesting. One thing I find interesting is there's the energy. Obviously, everything's energy.
Yes.
But somehow there is an interpretation that comes through words that then resonates with
Yes.
something. Like you hear something and you go, oh, that just created this feeling through me, you know, like a feeling of love or a feeling of whatever. But if the person you were listening to was speaking in, for me, like Japanese or Swedish or something, I wouldn't hear, there wouldn't be that same feeling that would go from a language that's interpreted and then resonating. It wouldn't happen. And sometimes I think to myself, well, because that would imply that the language is an important part of that resonance that happened. Because if they were speaking in another language, you wouldn't hear it, and so then it makes the language important, but it's not. Can you talk on that?
This is all this talking is being done from the standpoint of resonance. It's all resonance. And the resonance is something that's felt, something that it may not even be felt all the time. It's something that is going on in the energy behind the words. In one respect, it could be Japanese. From this experience of the retreats, the 2 retreats that it did, the words are totally unremembered, and it could have been Japanese that was being spoken. From that standpoint, it was somehow the energy that was there in that environment, and it was also, as was said before, an experience of exhaustion, and it was the self feeling the exhaustion. The body felt exhaustion, and there was an apparent change over that period in the self. And the words, looking as this looks at the memory, as this sees that from from this point, from this seeing, the words really didn't say that much themselves. There's something, it was something behind the words, around the words. It didn't have anything to do with with Emerson as a speaker. It just seemed to be the environment and a lot of it was the length of the talking. The last retreat was 4 days, and an average of 3 meetings per day. I'd say that this would say on average. And after that last meeting, this was just done with it all. It didn't even want to do another meeting. There were some one-on-ones, a couple of one-on-ones after, but no more meetings. It was over. So the language may be necessary in the beginning when people have questions. Everyone seems to start off wherever they're at, and often there are a lot of questions, and there's a lot of just becoming comfortable with what's being said. And then it could be Japanese. It could be Chinese. It could be alien. It could be silence. It could be
anything really, couldn't it?
Anything might be part of the environment, as long as there's a resonance.
It's often said that, like when you hear of different apparent fallings away and different stories, that, like you said before, it could be rolling over in bed. There could be no meeting. You could just roll over in bed. Someone could be going for a walk, look up at a tree, and bang, they're not there anymore. There's no formula. There might be common. There might be a couple of things that appear common that might where two different people fell away and they might have a common situation, but that doesn't mean anything, because there could be the other person over there that just did something or didn't do anything different. So there isn't anything specific requirement. That it's got nothing to do with it, with anything that really that's been, or any activity or particular activity that's appears to be happening at the time. In that sense, you can't find a formula and say, right, if you do this or you do that, or you're here or you happen to be here, or no, it's got nothing to do with all of that. Could be any one of those, could be none of them. But and it's obviously not the words.
And there's always been talking from the beginning. Tony talked, and he talked in groups of live meetings. So that is something that always seems to be part of this.
Mm,
This hasn't had the experience of live meetings, but it's been said that is actually even
I've heard that.
somehow
A different resonance, a
yes,
different type of, yeah, I've heard that.
people have said it's different.
Yeah,
The live
yeah,
meetings are different.
yeah, yeah.
So so it is the way it is.
Mm,
Whatever is happening is happening. It's happening on that end. It's happening on this end. It's energy is the term that's commonly used in talking about the falling away or the liberation or whatever term, the death, the dying. It's happening. It's already happening because it's already not there. It's already what is already
Yeah,
without any effort,
all
without
words.
or question. No more
Yeah,
questions, no more
yeah,
effort.
yeah.
It's already what is.
Mm,
It can't be anything else.
mm, mm. And it's obvious too that, you know, that resonance that seems to remain. It's not the words that remain, you know, the words come and go. Like you're not carrying around a big book with all these words in, you know, that's not what remains from a meeting or anything like that. It's they come and they go, you know. It's like a jug of water bubbling and then it goes back. It's just, it's irrelevant, you know.
Yes.
I was talking to someone the other day about just one of those little interesting things about that. If you look at it, one's willing to look at it, open to looking at it, that you actually can't find separation when you actually even look, even in the appearance of something. Like I can hear a bird in a tree. This was the example that I was talking about to my friend. You hear a bird in a tree, so there's a bird, an apparent, what we call a bird over there, and then there's you over here, and the distance might be 50 meters, or some apparent distance, all apparent. And so, you know, for the separate one would say, well, I'm here and there's a bird over there, two separate things. But where does the hearing take place? Where does the actual hearing take place? You know, is it here? Is it the bird? Well, it involves a bird making an apparent noise, and it involves eardrums, yes, hearing here, but you can't have hearing without one, without the both. Therefore, where is the connection between the two? Where exactly, point in time, point in space, does the actual hearing take place? And it's undefinable. There's no such thing. Does the hearing of the two, apparent two, take place halfway, or maybe a bit closer to me, or is it a bit closer to the bird, or is it just in here? And when you look at it that way, that was just an example I was trying to describe, and I've heard it talked about, is and you can't find it. There's no point between the apparent two where hearing takes place. It's unknown. It's the same for seeing, touching, everything. It's just as obvious as it looks, just that there's an appearance of two things. But when you break it down and start looking at it, even just like that, which any human can do, any self can do, yeah, that's right. Doesn't mean anything in the end, but it's just an interesting little game, I suppose. But it's a pointing to it.
It's another example of oneness.
Yeah.
It's all one. It's all oneness. Whether it's being seen or heard or felt. There's no one. There's no one. There's oneness, but there is no one here, no one over there, no one down there. It's just one.
Yeah.
It's just oneness, being one.
Yeah, one seamless. I think
Yeah.
Nisargadatta, I remember there was one sentence and he was talking about that with someone, and he said, actually, and it's extremely solid, this oneness. In other words, I think he was trying to describe, well, how can you describe one? You can't.
Yes.
You can't.
Yes, it's oneness, or one is totally different from the one.
Yeah.
This one and that one are different from one.
Yeah.
It's like night and day.
Yeah.
It is, oneness is, and the one isn't. It's just not.
That's a good t-shirt for you there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oneness is and the one isn't. I like that.
Yeah.
And you can see how, although it has to be imagined, but when there's just one, in that sense, there would be no time, no space, no movement, no nothing. One can only not mean anything, but oneness, one can only be the same as nothing. You can't have one and something.
Yeah.
So if there's nothing, not even movement, time, space, objects, then there's nothing. It's one and the same, isn't it? One and nothing has to be this. One and no thing.
Yes.
Has to, as far as words can describe, has to be the same thing. And in that sense, nothing would be happening either.
Yes. And that is there. That is nothing. That is no thing there. There's
a lot of people hear
thing,
that nothing.
There's no thing here.
No
thing, no one, no self, no separation. There's no thing there, no one, no self already.
Because a lot of people take that as, again, you know, if I try and talk about it, the resistance just comes up straight away from the listener, or whoever I'm talking to, in the way of, oh, but there's denial of everything. There's the negation of me, the non-acknowledgement of me, denial. Everything's just nihilistic, nothing. To say that there's nothing, the person will think that's just the most depressive negation of everything, and it's so not the case. You know, that's become a little bit clear to me recently, is that nothing is not nothing.
No.
It's not nothing. It's everything.
Yes.
It is everything, but it's clear here. I don't need to explain it for myself. It's clear. It's understood. But so it's the actual opposite of denial and negation. It's 100% inclusion of everything.
Yes.
It is this and it is that.
Yes.
It is you and it is me. It is all of that. But at the same time, it's none of it. It's amazing.
Yes. It's just not a thing.
Yeah.
It's
Just
not
a thing.
It's not a separate thing that the separate one would be comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's only comfortable with separate things, separate ones, separate lives, separate worlds, separate universes.
Yes.
It's only comfortable with separate.
And that's its function too, isn't it? You're like, we function in duality, like physically operate in duality, because otherwise I'm just going to walk into the wall, and I need to see a wall so I can walk around it. But you know, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I think the nothing is heard, and fair enough, it's heard as nothing, but nothing's really not a great word. It's just not a thing.
Yes.
But it is. Everything is no thing.
Yes.
It's very different from saying, so in other words, if you were to break it down, there's no separate thing that can be found, but that doesn't negate this.
Yes.
This is no thing, and you don't have to try and make this into nothing or see this as nothing. It is everything. I can't even put it into words, and I'm still here.
And it's seen when it's seen as everything. It is seen by everything to be everything.
Yeah. It's
It's
beautiful.
just seen. There's no effort. There's no preparation. There's no book. There's no steps. It's just everything is seen to be everything by everything.
Mm. Mm.
Everything is doing the seeing of everything.
Mm.
It's automatic. It's needs no education,
Mm.
no degree, no experience, no learning. Can't be learned. There's no one to learn. There's no one there to learn. It's whatever is there is already always been there and always will be there. Whatever that happens to be named, the nameless, is just there seeing what's there.
Mm.
Or it's here seeing what's here and what's there and what's that and over there and all at once. And it's just
Mm.
hopelessly
Yeah.
oneness,
Hopelessly
hopelessly,
oneness. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
without it is what it is with no need to be any other way. And since it's everything and infinite, how could it be anything else? It's already everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just beyond the little brain
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that is so full of itself because it's been told it's so highly advanced that it's a miracle,
Yeah.
and yet it's totally unable to see everything.
Mm.
Even though it is everything,
Mm.
the separate itself is totally incapable
Mm.
of seeing what is.
I wrote to one of my brothers I emailed him on this and said, oneness can't possibly see itself because, well, it does see itself and it doesn't, but if there's no one there to who or what could be seeing anything.
Oneness, or what is doing the seeing of everything.
Mm.
Oneness,
Mm.
what is, wholeness, is seeing wholeness.
Mm.
So,
but it couldn't see anything separate from it couldn't see anything separate from itself, so that it couldn't see separation. That's what I probably should have said. It couldn't see really separation, could it? Because it's seeing itself. It's all there is.
It's seeing itself as separation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Many people are separate. They believe they're separate. Oneness can see what other people are. It's what other people are is already oneness. Oneness can see what other people are saying, doing, feeling. It's all oneness doing that. So once the separation is gone, once the self is gone. It's just oneness now, just oneness then, just oneness when, seeing oneness.
Mm. Mm.
There is a memory. There's a memory of, there's still memories remaining. So oneness has the experience when the self is no longer there. It still has a memory of what it was like as oneness being separate.
Mm. Mm.
That this
Right,
still,
right,
this still,
right, right.
still, this still remembers what the way things were for Steve. And that Steve was oneness being Steve.
Yeah.
Now, there's no longer a Steve. There's just what is, seeing what is.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So what is there is seeing what it sees
Mm.
there.
Yeah.
What is already there. It is already and always has been there. It already is there. Anthony already is not there. There's only oneness there. There never has been an Anthony there. There has been oneness believing it was Anthony,
Mm.
but it was oneness already there.
Mm.
It's all been oneness. It's all been oneness doing oneness. What is doing what is. No doer there at all.
Yeah.
There's never been a doer.
Yeah. To me, the doing thing is such a simple and obvious seeing about there being no doer.
Yeah.
You know, I think we talked about this before. You know, you don't do your hair growing, you don't do your breathing, you don't do your heartbeat, you don't do your liver functioning, you don't do jack. Do you know what I mean? You don't do anything, but you like to say that, oh, you know, I made something, I did that, or, you know, I thought about that.
Yeah.
You're not there planting a thought into your head. Thought comes without you. Everything happens without you, but no, I claim this little bit and I'll claim that little bit. But it's so obvious. How can you, how unfair and biased is it to say, oh, I'll just claim those parts, but not those parts? I mean, give me a break. You know, like, it's so obvious. You were never there. I think Nisargadatta said to one of his, I refer to him because I've only read that book, but where were you when you were born then? Yeah, find that. You find that one.
Yeah.
You weren't there. You know, neither could you find a start and a beginning and an end to yourself. You can't find that. It's just obvious. You're just not there. You're appearing to be there. Yeah, that's there. But that illusion is there until it's not. But there's no substance to the you. It's just, you're just not there.
And
it's a bit laughable, really.
Yes, it is. It is. And it is a huge effort to be separate.
Oh, yeah.
And to be constantly being separate in whatever form that may take, whatever career or relationship or
or
religion or spirituality or whatever. It's that self constantly looking after itself and its comfort. It's all that it knows to do. Because once it's separate, once it actually is separate, it can no longer feel the everything. It just cannot possibly feel the everything that's everything. The separation closes the door to connection with everything. And of course, that self is going to be desperately filling that hole of separation with something to make itself feel something for its whole existence. And then if it happens that the body leaves, that self is left wondering where it's going to be. When everything leaves, what about it? Where is it going to end up?
Yeah.
So it feathers its nest with comforts that take care of that one. Oh, well, it'll go to heaven. Everything will be fine in heaven or something. It's just totally cut off from what might be termed apparent answers to no one. The completeness is totally, infinitely complete in every possible way. It's complete. There's no death. There's no being cut off. There's no ending. There's no beginning. There's no nest that needs to be improved, made more comfortable. What is what is just is fullness.
Mm.
It's just what is filled with everything.
And that
There's
talk
no-
of, because whenever there's someone speaking that's fallen away, the illusion's ended, they all say, you know, there's no death, there's no birth, there's no death. Obviously, that makes sense in what's being said. But to the one that still feels here, where the illusion is continuing, no matter how that's heard, and even possibly believed, there is never going to be the energetic feeling of okayness about that
no.
until you're not there.
Yes.
Because you cannot hear you don't die.
Yeah.
And not feel that until you're not there, and then whatever is felt about that is felt, and it's totally okay. But as long as there's a self here, it doesn't matter how many times you hear that. There's no birth and no death. You're like, okay, but yeah. So you just have to let, in my from where I am, let's say there's just a huge acceptance for now of that acceptance, and they get cool, all good, and there's definitely a hell of a lot less. What's happening now is a hell of a lot less stress and worry about all that sort of thing. It's just not an issue. It's not an issue anymore. It's not an issue anymore. I'm still here, believing myself to be here, but that's not an issue anymore. It's gone. So whether you could call that a serious loosening of the concreteness of the illusion of me, maybe it feels like that. It feels like I'm a pile of sand instead of a lump of concrete, but I'm still a lump of sand. That stand hasn't stopped happening yet. So, yeah.
So
it's cool.
So the self will do what it does, and at the same time, there is a resonance that does what it does.
Yeah.
And it's happening.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely, because this, and I can say here that the sense or the feeling of, for want of a better word, the sense or the feeling of relaxation, or probably if I was to try and put a word to it, relaxation about life and death and birth and meaning and purpose and all that sort of thing, is seriously just dissolving. That in this story, it's dissolved. It's just not needed anymore, so in that sense, that that's what the resonating is doing, then that's what it's doing. That's what's felt here, to which this one's very happy about that. Very grateful about that, but that's what it is. And yeah, so be it. Still a sense of being separate, but it's just
okay. Again, that's just what's happening.
Mm.
The self will do whatever it does. It's just what is happening.
Mm.
And it's happening.
Mm.
What is doing what is. It always has. It always will be. Without a doer. How about that?
That's heard. That's clear.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
that's great.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
It looks like these meetings will continue.
Mm. Yeah.
And,
Well, I hope we get some more people. It'd be nice.
yes.
And I can just say nothing and listen.
Yes.
It should be great for everyone.
Yes. It would be good for more people to be doing this.
Totally. Yeah.
So unless the schedule changes, then there'll be another Zoom link for you,
Okay.
probably same time next weekend.
Yeah.
It may be at some point there'll be more meetings. So that'll just
Mm.
depend on who's interested.
Mm. Yeah.
And that can be talked about further.
Yeah. Great.
So for now, we'll just say next Saturday, same time.
Yeah. My next Sunday morning, same time.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Great. All right. Thanks, Steve. Have a great day.
You have a great morning.
All right.
And we'll talk again.
Okay. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.